She was walking into the desert because staying had become worse than leaving. Hagar was an Egyptian servant in a household that was not hers, in a country that was not hers, in a story where nobody had ever asked her what she wanted. She had been given to a man because his wife wanted a child. She conceived, and then things in that tent turned cruel, and Sarai dealt harshly with her. And Hagar did what a person does when there is no one in the house on her side. She ran, not to anywhere. There was no anywhere. She went out toward the wilderness on the road to Shur, pregnant, alone, with no plan past the next hour, and she stopped at a spring of water because her body could not go further. Sit in that picture for a moment, before it becomes a lesson. A young woman sitting in the dirt beside water, in a country where she knew no one, carrying a child into a future she could not see one day of. Nobody was coming for her. She was the least important person in that entire household. If she had died out there, the story would have continued without her. And a voice said her name. That is the first shock of it. He called her Hagar, not servant, not the Egyptian, not the girl. Her name, and then a question. Where have you come from? And where are you going? Notice that he asked. He knew already. The asking was not for information. It was the way you talk to a person you are taking seriously, and she had probably not been talked to that way in years. She answered the first half honestly. She said she was running from her mistress. She did not answer the second half, because she had no answer. She did not know where she was going. Nobody in flight ever does. What she said afterward is the sentence that has carried women through 3,000 years of nights like this one. She called the God who spoke to her the God who sees me. That is what she named him. Out of everything she could have said in that moment, out of every need she had, hunger and safety and a future for her child, the thing that broke her open was being seen. And he made her a promise about her child, out there, with nobody else present to hear it. A promise about descendants beyond counting, spoken over a servant girl sitting in the dirt with nothing. The God of that whole household stopped, in the middle of a story that was supposedly about Abraham and Sarah, and dealt with the one person in it that nobody else considered a main character. And then she went back, not because the situation was fixed. It was not. She went back, carrying something she did not have when she left, which was the knowledge that she was not invisible. Years later, she was in a wilderness again, sent away for good this time, with bread and a skin of water, and a boy walking beside her. The water ran out. She put her son under a bush because she could not watch him die, and she sat a distance away and wept. The text says God heard the boy, and then it says something quieter, and it is the detail worth taking home. God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. The well was there. It had been there the whole time. What changed was her ability to see it. Sit with how that must have felt. She had already given up. She had already decided how the day was going to end, and had moved far enough away that she would not have to watch it happen. She was not being faithful in that moment. She was not praying a strong prayer. She was a woman at the absolute end of herself, with her back turned to her own child. And that is the condition she was in when her eyes were opened. Nothing about the rescue depended on her holding it together. Now come out of the desert and sit where you are tonight. Because the reason that story is in Scripture is that you have been having some version of it. You are waiting. Not for something dramatic, for an ordinary life that most people seem to get without asking. Someone to come home to. Someone to notice when you are quiet. And the waiting has gone on long enough now that it has started talking, and it does not tell the truth. It has been telling you that you are the only one, that everyone else was handed this. Your feed is full of it, and so is the pew on Sunday, and it looks effortless on all of them. This is the first lie, and it works, because loneliness is soundproof. Every woman in that building is carrying something she does not post. Some of the married ones are lonelier in a house than you are in an apartment, and would not say so out loud to anyone. It has been telling you this is permanent. That is the second, and it is the most convincing, because it is not making an argument. It is producing a feeling. A season with no visible end presents itself as a life sentence, but you have no information about next year, none. You have never once had it, and every good thing that ever arrived in your life arrived on a day you did not know was coming. The third lie is the one that gets in deepest. It says this is a verdict, that the waiting is a report on your worth, that there is something in you people can sense, some defect that explains it, and you have searched for it. You have gone over your body, your personality, the thing you said at that dinner, hunting for the reason. Hear this clearly. Singleness is not a diagnosis. Some of the most difficult people you know are married, and some of the finest women who have ever lived are alone tonight. And if being good enough determined the timing, the world would look nothing like it does. And the fourth lie is the practical one, the one that shows up late in the evening. It says anything is better than this. It tells you to text back the man you already know is wrong, to lower the standard just slightly, to take the version of love that is available instead of the one you actually want. Loneliness is a poor negotiator. It will trade your future for company tonight and call it being realistic. Take a breath. Every one of those has been in your head this month, and none of them survive daylight. Notice too when they speak, not while you are working, or laughing at something with a friend, or in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. They wait for the quiet. They come at night, and after weddings, and on the drive home, and in the 10 minutes after you put your phone down. Loneliness is not a philosopher. It is an opportunist, and it makes its strongest arguments at the hour when you have the least strength to answer them. Here is what is true instead, and it is smaller and stronger than what the lies offer. The waiting is not empty. Something is being built in it that cannot be built any other way. Not because suffering is noble, but because a woman who has learned to be at peace by herself brings something into a relationship that a woman who was rescued from her own company cannot. You are becoming someone who will not need a man to be a painkiller. That is not a consolation prize. That is the whole difference between a marriage that holds and one that runs out of fuel in year 4. And there is something to do with the waiting other than endure it. Build the life now, not as a distraction and not as a performance of contentment for people watching. Actually build it. Take the trip. Buy the good plates instead of keeping them for a hypothetical future table. Put down roots in a church where people know when you are absent. Every woman who has come through a long season well will tell you the same thing, that at some point she stopped living in a waiting room and started living in her life, and that the waiting became survivable on that day and not before. And the deepest thing you are missing may not be a husband. Look at what actually undid Hagar in that desert. It was not the water. She was not fixed by the well. She was fixed by being seen, and the well came after. You have been seen the whole time. On the nights nobody knew about. In the car after the wedding, when you were happy for your friend and could not explain the ache. Scripture says God keeps count of your tossing and puts your tears in his bottle. Nobody writes that down about a stranger. You are a daughter of the King, and daughters are not shelved. Nothing about you is waiting in a room to be selected. You are living, right now, in a life that is already yours, and love, when it comes, will be an addition to it, and not the beginning of it. Nothing about tonight is a holding pattern. This year counts as much as any year that comes after it, and it counts for you, not toward some later thing. There is a well near you that you have not seen yet. It may not be the one you have been asking for, but you will look up on some ordinary afternoon at something that was there the entire time and understand why your eyes had to be opened for it and not just your circumstances changed. Which of those four have you been believing lately? Write it in the comments and write the truth underneath it. There is a woman reading this tonight who needs to see someone else name hers first.